Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a behind the scenes video on something gargantuan. Now, behind me is a box, a very large box. That is the Samsung Odyssey G9 NEO, which is the latest addition to the Samsung Super Ultra Wide 49-inch gaming monitor. It's the next version of the monitor that is my standard monitor that I've been using for the last year, I think. And when I saw this coming, I was quite upset because I saw the improvements they've made to it. So they've taken what was already an awesome monitor and they've added mini LED technology, improved HDR, and a hell of a lot more lighting zones, as well as upgraded HDMI connections and a lot of other things that should result in a much better experience. There's been a number of tweaks and spec improvements on the screen and the panel, but the device itself looks quite similar. Now, I haven't unboxed it yet. My plan is not really to do an unboxing video this time. So with the G9 and the CRG9 before that, I basically did unboxing videos as I normally would. However, it is a mission to get these things out of the box, and I probably will still get some bits of that footage. I think it is worth demonstrating sort of setup process for it. But actually, the idea of what I'm going to be doing for the most part, and what I want to talk about in this video, is the intentions I have for creating content. My idea is to create two videos, one which is a review and overview of the G9 NEO to show you what it looks like, how it runs, what it's like to game on, and the various features that make it interesting, and then another one to compare it with the G9. Now, this has only been sent for testing purposes, and it will be going back afterwards, and I expect that I will no doubt be quite sad to see it leave, and hopefully not too upset that I am then stuck with my G9, which is still a great monitor, but obviously not as good because it doesn't have mini LED for a start, and all the other awesomeness that the G9 NEO has. But what I want to do is to create a video that will let people work out whether they want to pay out for the G9 NEO, because it is, I believe, around $2,000. Last look, it was £1,800 sterling direct from Samsung, which is significantly more expensive than the G9, which retails somewhere about 1,200 or lower if you're looking at it in the sale periods. So hopefully the G9 will be on sale this Black Friday, Christmas time, maybe. We'll see, I don't know. And the CRG9 before that you can get for about £700, which is a bargain, a real good steal. So the question becomes, is it worth paying out for the G9 NEO, or do you just get the G9? And I'd imagine that the conclusion will be to save money and get the G9, but I don't know just yet, and that's the excitement of it. Now, I've had this box actually for a couple of days. I haven't got to it yet, even though I'm excited about it. And the reason for that is because what I'm trying to do is put together footage for it. Now, I actually have been trying to work out the best way to do a versus video. Usually with versus videos, I take the footage of both devices and try to compare them side by side. If I have both devices at the time, like a mouse, for example, then I'll just get both mice and put them together so you can actually get a visual representation of what they're like, as well as talking about the various features and whatever else of them. But trying to get two 49-inch monitors side by side on screen is obviously very difficult. To even just get the monitor itself on screen is quite difficult, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And I have to use an ultra-wide angle lens in order to do that, and set the camera quite far back in the room to be able to capture enough of the entire thing to show off what it's like. And that results in other problems, which include that it has a sort of fisheye effect on the lens because of the size of it and the amount of room it's taking in, which then exaggerates the curve on the monitor and results in people complaining, saying that the edges of the screen look distorted, which isn't 100% the reality. of the actual monitor itself. It's one of those things you really have to experience. And to do the versus video, I really wanted to be able to put basically one monitor on top of the other, so I was looking into ways to be able to do that, because I was thinking if I ran both monitors together at the same time, that would be the best way to be able to demonstrate the differences between them and show the differences between them in terms of the lighting zones, the dimming, local dimming zones, the HDR, and the other things like that. So my idea was to try and work out how to stack one on top of the other. The problem is that the stand doesn't go terribly high and it's set in the middle. And so you couldn't really put one super high and have the other one really low. That just wouldn't work. So the other thing that I looked at was on Amazon, there is actually unbelievably a desk mounted Visa stand, which you could use, but it's huge. And it's got two arms that desk mount to the bottom of the desk, and it then has the connections for it, and it actually says that it can cope with two 49-inch screens up to 16 kilos each, which is a little bit less than what the G9 is, and that it will then work. It is £250 sterling, and I'll be paying that amount of money for something that I wouldn't be using long term, because obviously long term this is going back. I don't get to keep it, sadly, so I won't be running two G9s one on top of the other. That would be insane, and I don't have that much money. Anyway, I read up on those. I was thinking about buying it anyway, just for the sake of a video, because I thought having one on top of the other, running the same game, mirrored, or off two different machines, side by side at the same time, would be a brilliant demonstration of the differences between them. I looked into the reviews of that monitor stand, and a lot of people were saying it wasn't very stable, it was hard to put together. One of the monitors sagged from the top, and it basically just ended up not being a flat sort of surface, even though it was a curved screen, but they're not sitting on top of each other well. And so that sort of put me off. I don't want to spend quite a bit of money on something that I wouldn't be using long term, and then also didn't work. The other one is I looked into a boom arm, which is, I want to say it's called Elgatron or something. It's a monitor stand, and it's incredibly expensive. It's about £350, which is about $400 or $500, and it is designed to hold the G9, and it's got really good reviews, and it looks magnificent, to be fair. It looks like a big old chunky arm, like chunkier than the Blue Compass boom arm, which is pretty chunky anyway. A big hefty thing that mounts to the back of the desk, and then is adjustable in height and sort of sideways and back and forth. A lot more flexible than having it on a stand, and obviously frees up space from the stand that you would have on the desk as well. But unfortunately, that thing only goes to 11 inches, I think, or 25 centimeters off the desk, which isn't high enough. So even if I bought that, even if I bought two of those, that still wouldn't work. And I could theoretically put them side by side, but then trying to fit two 49-inch ultra-wide monitors into a frame for a 16:9 video, just, it doesn't work. So then the other solution was I've got two big desks, so I could put the G9 Neo on this one and keep my G9 on this one, and then have two cameras, one facing either way, and capture footage from the same game on two different machines, or even the same game mirrored from one machine. So my main gaming PC, mirror the screens, so you have the same display set on the G9 and the G9 Neo, and then have different cameras pointing in different directions to capture that, so you can see the footage. The problem with that is this room isn't that wide, and I've already said that the ultra wide camera has to sit quite far back in order to capture, and I don't have two ultra wide angle lenses, and I only have a couple of light sources, so the problems I'd have is it wouldn't be representative. So like different wall colors and different lighting situations, it ends up being a nightmare. So it wouldn't work, it wouldn't look good, it wouldn't be a fair representation of the differences between them. So there's no real good solution to what I've actually set out to do, but this is the thought process I've gone through, and this is quite a lengthy video, which is hopefully interesting because it's going to show what I'm planning on doing. And then there's a random behind the scenes look at my life. While I was walking my dog, I had an idea that struck me, that I could capture footage on the G9 with the camera in a certain position and the lighting set to a certain lighting temperature, and the camera settings to be all certain way, and then I swap the monitor over, put the G9 Neo in there, make sure the settings on the monitor are the same, apart from maybe the better settings, obviously, with the HDR and that, and do the same thing again, and play the same missions. So, for example, I'm done Clean House on Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I've done one of the first levels on Call of Duty Black Ops. I've done a level on Ghost Runner. I've done a little bit of Cyberpunk, Red Dead Redemption. And basically my idea is to have the same footage on both monitors and then cut between them so you can see the difference. And I've actually had an idea to do that again tonight. So before I actually unbox this, I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to try and capture a little bit of footage where basically doing exactly the same thing in two different monitors. So I'm going to go into Red Dead Redemption and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, go to a specific point on the map, and then walk a path for a couple of minutes and try and sort of stay in exactly the same direction. Then I'm going to use the 2 bits of footage and try and treat them like multicam footage. And I might even try and do a picture-in-picture and have it split down the middle so that you could see one half is the G9 Neo and the other half is the G9. I'm trying to capture the footage and then go into the editing process and see if that even works. These are just ideas. There's lots of different ways to do it, I think. It's going to be very tricky. If this were two 27-inch monitors, it'd be a lot easier because you just put them side by side and run it. But because they're so huge, it's going to be very, very difficult to do correctly. And well, and even like differences in the lighting in the game. So for example, Red Dead Redemption, obviously sometimes it rains and sometimes it's sunny, and so I might load the game up on the different monitors at slightly different times and find completely different weather, so I'm really mess with it. But something like Clean House and Call of Duty, which is a specific mission carrying out specific actions in a dark house in London as special forces, should be easy enough to get the same. But the reason I wanted to do Red Dead and Assassin's Creed is because it's third person, so it'll look a lot better, the end results. Anyway, basically what I'm trying to achieve is a really awesome versus video, and hopefully, obviously, a really great review, because the G9 video and the CRG9 are my two top performing videos on the channel, because it's an interesting product, expensive, unusual, and people wonder what the deal is about it. And when I did the CRG9, I wasn't really happy with the video. It's actually an interesting insight into YouTube, so I'm just going to waffle for a minute more. I'd seen that a lot of other people had already done the CRG9 video, and I thought no one's really going to watch this. I just sort of did an unboxing video, and then I did some footage and I showed what I liked about it, and I captured some alright footage, but I wasn't really that happy with the video. And I put it up anyway because I'd done it and it had taken a while, and it did okay, and now it's still doing okay a long time later, and it's got about 600,000 views, which is pretty decent for a channel of my size. And I couldn't believe it because I didn't really think it would do anything. And then when the G9 turned up, that too was late, and all the big people had seen it. Linus Tech Tips, Random Frank P, loads of different people had seen it, and again I was way behind the curve and I thought they wasn't going to do anything, but I put a lot more effort into that video. I got a lot better quality footage of multiple different games from loads of different angles, and I spent a lot more time focusing on what the gameplay was like and the settings and the features than I did talking about the setup process and the hardware. And that video is actually doing pretty well. It's not surpassed the other one, but it's doing well. So I'm going to do even less unboxing this time, a little focus on that, but more focus on the gaming. But the versus video is the one I'm excited about, because I think that probably hardly anybody, if anyone at all, is going to do a video comparing the G9 with the G9 Neo, because it's a mission and people probably don't have both. And you could just take clips from the original and compare them B-roll wise and then talk about the differences, and that's something I could do. But since I happen to have both of them, I'm going to try and make comparable, interesting footage that I can then put into a versus video. So that has been a lot of waffle about what's going to happen. I'm going to drop some B-roll in to show you that process of what I've been doing, and then I'm going to give a tease of what the G9 looks like coming out of the box. So I am going to unbox it in this sort of behind the scenes vision, hopefully. And then hopefully you'll be intrigued enough to watch the verses and the main video and let me know what you think. I'm excited for it, although I'll be sad when it has to go back, no doubt. I'm hoping there's some sort of horrible problem with it. No, I'm not, but my wife will murder me if I spent nearly £2,000 on a monitor when I've already got one. I've already got a good monitor, and yeah. But if my G9's anything to go by, the G9 Neo will be absolutely magnificent. And when you see some of the B-roll footage, you'll know why. I've set it up and I played multiple games, as I just told you already, and I got some really good footage, and I forgot just how good it is, because a lot of the time I use it in picture-by-picture mode when I'm working, and when I'm streaming at the weekend with my friends when I'm gaming there, I usually only play on half the screen, so you get 16:9 resolution for YouTube and Twitch. And so when you go full 49-inch 32:9 ultra wide, it is so immersive. Words don't do it justice. You really have to experience it. Even video doesn't do it justice. You really have to be there and experience it. I had a friend come over and try it out, and he couldn't believe it. Blew him away. And I've had several friends since then come and do the same thing and just been like staggered by it. If you've ever tried ultra wide, you've got a taste of what it's like. But when you go super ultra wide, and it just, your peripheral vision just fills. And a lot of people make the mistake when they see the video, oh, it's stupid because you have to turn your head, you'll get cricks. And they think you're just doing this constantly. If I look at the edges of the screen, you'll see how far I'd have to look. And that's side to side view. So one edge is like, I can't even demonstrate. One edge is that way. The other edge, it is quite far. But when you're playing a game, you don't tend to turn your head to look. You flick your eyes and you move your mouse to turn the camera where you want it to go, right? So ultra wide, super ultra wide allows you to see a lot more out of the corners of your eyes. So you have a lot more wider peripheral vision, and therefore it's much more immersive because it's like real life. More of the game is visible to you than your world that you're in. So if you're on a small 27-inch or 24-inch or whatever, you've only got this small bit of screen to see, and then your peripheral vision is seeing your PC and the walls and whatever else is in your room. But if you're playing on super ultra wide, your peripheral vision is just filled up with the game world. And in the example that I've got, one of the best examples is flying a fighter plane in World War II, protecting a bomber squadron that's flying over Germany, and you just see planes left and right and sky for miles, and it's just fantastic. It's such a good experience, and I hope I get to do some of that justice, because it is worth buying. I said when I reviewed the G9 that I had to send it back and I will be buying one afterwards, and that's exactly what I've done, and I've used it happily ever since. I have no buyer's remorse whatsoever, and I think that I will say the same thing on the Neo, although obviously I've not unboxed it yet, but if it's anywhere near as good and then also better, it will definitely be worth buying. So stick with me as we see what the G9 Neo looks like out of the box, and then hopefully some samples of just how magnificent it is in gaming. Let me know in the comments what you think. So here I am behind the scenes. This is the G9, the standard one, and I currently have my other camera, one of the other cameras, set up here, which is about a meter or so away from the monitor. This is the one with the ultra wide lens on it, so it can capture edge to edge. And basically I'm just going to run a game off of it while also sitting off to the side so I don't get in the way of the camera. So wireless mouse, wireless keyboard and a controller if games work with controllers, and I'm just going to sit off to the side so that I can get a perfect view like you would, POV view, straight down towards that. This is actually one of the biggest challenges with reviewing monitors and laptops, which is something I used to do in the past a bit more, is trying to capture footage that would give you an accurate representation of what it would be like to actually use yourself. Obviously getting across the visuals is very difficult because whatever device you're watching it on isn't going to be the same as what you'd see if you're actually playing on the monitor. And also, if I want to game on the monitor, then I obviously need to sit in front of it. It makes it very difficult to sit off to the side and game. And so I tried to put the ultra-wide angle lens on my camera, get it in front of the monitor, and then capture a view that will hopefully give you a point of view look at what it would be like. But here you're seeing the behind the scenes of what that looks like. So normally the camera's in the way. And that's why if you watch the video, you'll see a keyboard not being used. I've actually got two keyboards plugged into the PC here, obviously, and then I'm gaming one separately. And then I also get multiple angles, different footage from different angles to show the quality of the display and the viewing angles of it. Now, unboxing the NEO G9, obviously there are problems potentially here with the setup in terms of having two massive monitors in the room to deal with now. But here you can see under the behind the scenes look at what I'm doing. When I did the original 49-inch monitor, I did a lot of focus on the unboxing part, what was included in the box. And then with the G9 I did less of that, and with the NEO G9 I'm going to do even less. But I still think it's important highlighting some of the interesting design features. For example, that stand that you could see that you can hide away the cables with. The other thing, obviously, getting out of the box is just the sheer size of the thing and the curve, because it's really difficult to get that across when you're doing a sort of straight on POV shot. You don't really see that massive curve that you have on this monitor, which is a pretty bonkers curve when you look at it in this sort of manner. Actually, when you're gaming on it, you don't really notice it, but when you look at it sort of side on or top on like that, it's just bonkers. And here I am. If you're wondering what I was doing there, I was actually trying to get a thumbnail for the video. Probably not going to use because it looks terrible. The rear of the monitor is really nice looking. There's an infinity core lighting system in the middle, but unfortunately I couldn't get that to work very well at all. It would just look absolutely terrible. So here's a taste of what the G9 Neo versus G9 video is going to look like with two clips side by side that I promised earlier on. On the left hand side is one, on the right hand side the other. I managed to line up the bits of footage. You'll see actually the keyboard and my Go XLR are wonky because of this, because the monitors were lined up but the room wasn't, because the camera was ever slightly out. But hopefully that'll give a good sort of comparison bit of footage as to the difference between the two. Be sure to come back and check out that versus video and let me know what you think. Put a lot of effort into capturing loads of footage for this one, so hopefully it's really good. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate you. You're a legend. Be sure to check out the full review of the monitor, where obviously you'll see a lot more of the footage of what it's like to use and my thoughts on it. Appreciate you. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks for watching.